One. Hello, I am WM Siegel. Today, I want to talk about ornithopters. Ornithopters, they're not planes, but they would be a flying machine. The difference is the wings flap, right? Now, you've seen these sort of things fantasized about in movies, in the recent Dune movies, I think, and in Avatar, maybe, different science fiction films. There'll be flying machines that aren't a helicopter, nor are they a plane with this with propeller or jet propulsion. Um, it's this other, right? Seems a little more graceful, but they always machine it up, you know. They give it wings and they make it out of metal. It loses the grace. So in this, I want to talk about the possible age of flight that we missed. The one that was more elegant, the one that wasn't metal. I think of the age of sailing on the ocean. When we first started sailing, it opened up the whole world, you know, and the connection. If you've sailed before on a little boat, you know, that tug, the connection, you slicing through the water. You're part of the process, and you're working with nature as opposed to trying to conquer it or defeat it with a propeller or something. And so I think, in a way, I like to imagine, what if the Industrial Revolution waited a few decades, but we were still curious about flight. We had our balloons. We had hot air balloons in the Civil War. We used them for surveillance. Not to much effect, but they were used in the American Civil War. So we were up there. We were up in the air, you know, and 50, 60, 70 years later, we went a different way. You know, there was the balloon, the very elegant. I mean, yeah, sure, it's clumsy. How are you going to get from here to there? But we approached being above the ground in a softer way. I think we grew impatient. We saw what could be done with the combustion engine. We saw what could be done after the Industrial Revolution, during it, and being inside of it. And so flight, the want to be in the sky, got corrupted. And in my mind, it lost its grace and its femininity, you know. There was no, I don't know, it was just a race to get into the sky and burn fuel doing it. And I feel like we were using, and it's fine, we accomplished things, but if we weren't given the temptation to take that shortcut, what would we have come up with? And I think we would have come up with something far more interesting, ingenious, friendlier to the environment, you know? Things that fly don't have to be made of metal. They don't have to weigh that much. And they don't need you. You know, passenger planes. But we can fly cargo, you know? It doesn't have to be some crazy drone, all this stuff. In this world, yes. We've already made the world. But in the world that I'm imagining, we move from hot air balloons to gliders. And it's about controlled descent. That's what's in the mind. Controlling your descent. Not flying and conquering it. You still want to be in the air. You want to be safe in the air, and you want to return to the earth. Why do we have to call that flying? It's controlled descent, you know. And so, if you stop thinking of it as, I have to go, and perhaps what you really need to do is just go up, because we live on a circle, up high enough, wait, and then go down. You'll get where you need to go. That's how ballistic missiles work, or intercontinental ones, you know. So flying in a straight line on the Earth, it goes up and up and up, turns its angle, and comes back down to the Earth, right? We should have done that. We should have made gliders that get propelled, activate, and they can descend, controlled, to their location. They don't have to be made of metal. It just depends on what your cargo is, I guess. But if we had approached this from the very beginning this way, there could have been little circular grass landing pads every 30 miles, right? And a little launch device. Boop, and it comes down. Yeah, launch again, launch again. Leapfrog across the country, like the Pony Express, right? Without jet fuel. In this world, in this imaginary world where the Industrial Revolution took a nap and a break. So we look at ornithopters now in our world as sort of a novelty, a funny thing, what it could have. But we shouldn't look at it that way. That's not innovative. That's not intelligent at all. Ornithopters, I think, are something that were overlooked. We forgot. We got so tempted by internal combustion. It's ridiculous. But so what people have done with ornithopters is not much. They've come up with this clunky design, essentially, where the wings are moved up and down, and you would have, a rubber band here, and you would have a crankshaft here. And the crankshaft would be, I forget what it's called, but it's asymmetrical or off-center, but the wings go up and down, it just turns. This action right here, now it works. These things fly. But this action here, for me, still feels way too clumsy. And if you approach flight with ornithopters using that approach, it will always be impractical and it'll always be clunky because the spirit of it was never meant to be harnessed in that manner. The same as these things shouldn't. There was a German aviation engineer during World War II working on ornithopters. It's ridiculous designs. These wings going like this. They're trying to mimic the bird, but it's like they've never seen a bird. The thing weighs 3 tons. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's not their fault. They were handed a deck of cards that was missing some cards, because the Industrial Revolution happened. Certain creative sparks did not ignite because we didn't need to. We weren't in that position of need. So I started playing with these things, obviously. And I came across an idea where instead of with bars pulling these wings up and down, that's like holding a bird and flapping its wings for it. It's so aggressive. It's so antithetical to the spirit of controlled descent. I believe, in my mind, that ornithopters and people playing with them, because there's real good application for these things. Some defense, some stuff I wouldn't even want to say because I wouldn't want people to do it, but there's a new way, I think. Have your ornithopter be guided by, ligaments, joints. Make it organic again. Make it more like the bird, right? So I bent my bamboo. I should say, also, there is, and I forget it, what is it called? It's in Brooklyn, and they make a lot of art. Someone made a beautiful ornithopter out of bamboo and all this stuff. and it's amazing. It's a beautiful piece of art. But it uses this type of crank, like I was saying, just in case that was in your mind, if you're familiar with people playing with these. But this approach, we have a spring holding the wings at what's called a dihedral angle, which is the angle at which the bird rests its wings to descend. And then we have a mechanism here that will turn, right? And it will also be offset like the crankshaft, turning that. But instead of bars grasping the wing, we have the wing held on its own ligament, its own spring, just like a bird, its own inclination. And we have tendons, not bars, bones, tendons. So let's make it graceful, you know? Birds' bones are hollow. And so if we can get this to go up and down, you know, this is a much more graceful, not mine, this one doesn't work, because I haven't figured it out yet. This is an unfinished thing, you know. But if we can get this action, it's far more fluid than the jerkiness of the, because we're disrupting something, and then we're allowing it to get back to its natural state. And that's what organic things do. And that's what we're supposed to be mimicking when we're inventing. If we're not, then I don't know what the heck you're doing. But, so, I need these wings to go up and down, being pulled by these, with spinning it, you know, this needs to spin. And as it goes, up, down, up, down. My problem I'm having is, how do I regulate the power being given by the rubber band or the metal coil? It needs to be coming out of it at an even rate. I don't know if that's what a governor is. I don't know anything about this stuff. I just get curious about things and I start making them. I just fly into things blindly. But if anyone out there plays with ornithopters or knows someone who does, give them this idea and ask them to figure out how to make it work. Because I'm going to still work on it, but I think this is a completely different approach to ornithopters and to flight, just to controlled descent. You know, we can send messages with these things to one another. If you can have this locate, you know, and you can give it small inclinations to get to a place. Maybe it's not right there, but it's close enough that you can walk out your door and find it. You're so busy. You know, yeah, of course we are in this world, but in that imaginary world where the Industrial Revolution didn't happen, these things are flying around everywhere, 12 feet wide, bringing corn to your neighbor. It's amazing. And then you can cut it up and burn it, cook the corn, you know. It's sort of like a Robinsonade, or, I don't know if you remember Robinson Crusoe or the Swiss Family Robinson, the gadgetry. I love that stuff. And we look at it like it's goofy, and it's not. It's the foundation of everything. And when we start a new idea like this one, these are vestigial. They're memories, you know. Putting these on the wings of an ornithopter, the reason for it is because people building the ornithopters are still corrupted by that mindset of the engineering that came out of the Industrial Revolution. There's other elegant ways, you know. Use the gravity around you. Replicate nature. These things fluttering around, they could do a lot of good. They could do a lot of good. There's a lot of practical application, whether people, you know, think so or not. But we find a way to use things, and something like this that's biodegradable. Imagine being at war. Imagine being in the Ukraine. can't send a message. You know, we need to get tinkering again. People need to really start doing this stuff again. You know, I'm not a flight guy. I'm not an engineer. I'm not nothing. I'm just some dude. I'm just a girl who loves turtles. You know. We all need to start tinkering again, with honest intention and with the future in mind. And I want flight to have an age of sailing, like boat travel did. I want flight to be quiet, beautiful, and I don't want it to muck up the earth. You know, there's other ways to do things. You could take 1,000 of these, lift them up with a hot air balloon, release them. They'll get where they need to go. There's other ways to do stuff, more interesting ways, analog ways, you know. But I think we'll find that those things are going to come in very handy in the future, if the way things are. Another thing I'd like to plug at the end is a book, Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. It's part of a trilogy, the space trilogy. The first one is called Out of the Silent Planet, and it does stand alone. You don't have to read the other two. It's just great. It's science fiction and C.S. Lewis, who you don't really associate, you think fantasy or something, but it's an amazing book. It's short, and it's not what you expect. It's just really deep philosophy, sci-fi. It's great. You'll walk away from it feeling good, I think. Feeling like you can take part in the world and make it better. That there's mechanisms there to enable that. Yeah, so that was Ornithopters. Look them up. They're fun. But think about what I said of how are we approaching flight? I think it deserves more grace than we've given it. Helicopters were maybe close, but I don't know. They're a little weird. All right, bye-bye.